which is the third particular state. Although the Sanskrit for 4, concentration, is samadhi, what is being described is not samadhi as defined in the list of precepts, samadhi, and wisdom, the 3 non-outflow studies. Here we render the word in English as concentration, because it means exclusively paying attention to something. It means to be without distractions in one's mind. It means continually thinking about something or focusing one's attention on it. When this Dharma is functioning, your mind will be concentrated on one particular experience to the exclusion of all others. This kind of single-minded concentration is something an ordinary person is capable of. One uses it when performing some activity which one wants to bring to successful accomplishment.
And sometimes, without much concentration, 5, an accuracy of judgment will arise, which is the 5th particular state. Although the Sanskrit for this 5th Dharma is prajna, it is not referring to genuine wisdom, but to an ability which the average person possesses. It is not the prajna wisdom which people who cultivate the way are working to bring forth. Here, we call it judgment, for it refers to being worldly wise, which involves the ability to make judgments and decisions, to have a sense of judgment. It functions when one tries to figure out if something one did was done well or not, done correctly or incorrectly. That is judgment, worldly wisdom. When it is a question of wisdom of world-transcending dharmas, samadhi and prajna help each other out. Samadhi assists prajna wisdom, and prajna wisdom enhances samadhi. That is how samadhi and wisdom work on the world-transcending level. But when we speak of the concentration and judgment which are worldly dharmas, they remain isolated from each other. They do not mutually function. It is not the case that if one has concentration then one will have judgment, or that if one has judgment one will have concentration.
These worldly dharmas of concentration and judgment cannot happen at the same time. When one is in the midst of concentration, one will not be using the dharma of judgment, and when one is in the process of using judgment, one will not be simultaneously using concentration. Hence, at the mundane level, these 2 dharmas of concentration and judgment are separate. All of these 5 particular states are the same way, isolated from each other. Each one deals with its own particular state. It is not that each one pervades all 5, so that one state includes all 5 states. The previous 5 universally interactive dharmas were such that one kind of state was replete with 5 types of minds. These 5 particular states are isolated from each other, so their states are altogether different.
Since they are not the same, let us look at how each arises. Desire arises for pleasurable states. In states requiring decisiveness, resolution is produced. Toward states one has already experienced, one gives rise to recollection. Concentration is initiated toward states that one contemplates, and then judgment arises. Thus we distinguish them from the previous 5 universally interactive, and call them the 5 particular states. Shastra 3. The 11 wholesome dharmas are 1. Faith, 2. Vigor, 3. Remorse, 4. Shame, 5. Absence of greed, 6. Absence of anger, 7. Absence of foolishness, 8. Light ease, 9. Non-laxness, 10. Renunciation, and 11. Non-harming.
Commentary. This is the third of 6 divisions of the 51 dharmas belonging to the mind. These 11 wholesome dharmas are good dharmas, and so are called wholesome. They help you to cultivate and accomplish your work. Of the 11 wholesome dharmas, the first is faith. Faith is necessary in whatever one does. One needs to have a sense of confidence, an attitude of belief. First one needs to have faith in oneself. What kind of faith? One needs to have faith that one certainly can become a Buddha. One has to believe that there is no difference between the Buddha and oneself. But that non-differentiation is in the Buddha nature. In order to actually become a Buddha, cultivation is still required. If one cultivates, one will become a Buddha. In order to do so, one must have an initial belief in that principle.
Second, not only does one want to believe that one can become a Buddha oneself, but also to believe that all people can become Buddhas. However, not only can all people become Buddhas, one should believe that all living beings have the Buddha nature and are capable of becoming Buddhas. If one has that kind of faith, then one should begin by following the rules oneself. To follow the rules means to hold the precepts. First, one holds the precepts, and then one can become a Buddha. One does that oneself, and also encourages others, all living beings, to do so as well. Faith must be solid, like a rock, firm and sturdy. Faith should not be like a pile of ashes that seems to have some substance to it, but crumbles at the slightest disturbance. Do not be too soft. One's faith must be strong and solid.
Once one has solid faith, then one should put it into action with the second wholesome Dharma, vigor. What should one be vigorous doing? One should be vigorous in cultivating. Be mindful of the Buddha, mindful of the Dharma, and mindful of the Sangha. Use vigor in doing that. Do not always be retreating. One should always keep advancing, being more and more vigorous. 3 is remorse, which also carries the meaning of repentance. This Dharma is enacted with regard to oneself. One should bring forth an attitude of remorse and repentance, thinking, the things I have done are really not right. I ought to change and become a new person.
Number 4 is shame. This Dharma of shame is enacted with regard to others. One should harbor a sense of shame akin to embarrassment, thinking, I'm not up to that person. I should not feel that I am better than other people. That person is actually much better than I am. See how that person is always in such good spirits and free from worry. Why is it that I have so many worries? That is the kind of attitude one should have. 5 is absence of greed. Do not be greedy. The way greed works is that if there is something one has not gotten, then one wants to get it. But after getting it, one fears losing it. Both the desire to obtain and the fear of losing are aspects of greed. Therefore, do not be greedy for wealth, do not be greedy for beautiful forms, do not be greedy for fame, and do not be greedy for profit. I teach you not to be greedy, but I, myself, must be greedy. However, I am being greedy on your behalf. I am greedy for everyone else's sake.